Pop sensation Britney Spears is at the center of a nasty legal battle to free herself from a 13-year conservatorship. Here with legal analysis is Harvard Law School Emeritus Professor and Newsmax contributor Alan Dershowitz. Professor, always good to have you. Let's start from the beginning here. How does this happen to someone like Britney Spears, who appeared to be a competent person enough to make millions of dollars touring the country singing?
Well, I taught this guardianship material for 25 years at Harvard. It's the Wild West. There's very little law. There's an enormous amount of discretion, enormous amount of abuse by judges and by guardians, and it has to stop. And I think the Britney Spears case will be a very important one because it will expose the problems of the system. She's an adult. She's entitled to make her own mistakes. Nobody should be standing over her. She may need some help on financial material, but unless she is so mentally ill that she has to be committed to a mental hospital because she's a danger to herself and others, and clearly she doesn't meet that criteria, she should be allowed to pick her own lawyer. The judges finally said yes. She should be allowed to pick her own financial advisor. The financial advisor has now left the case. She has a very good lawyer now. And I think we will finally see justice done. And it's important that this be exposed because everybody is watching Britney Spears, but there are thousands of people, elderly people, sick people, who are subject to guardianships today, who are being exploited for money by guardians, by corrupt guardians, and by judges who are playing favorites in appointing guardians for financial reasons.
You just hit on it. That's it. If she was not rich, touring the country to make millions of dollars, we wouldn't be having this conversation because these people wouldn't have the gravy train. And it seems to me from where we're standing, all of this is pretty easy. Whether or not she's a little wacko or not isn't the question, right? This is, to your point, she's not sick. She doesn't appear to be mentally ill. All of her fans clearly want to get out there and free Britney. But the judges so far haven't budged, aside from, as you noted, allowing her to have her own lawyer. So from what we've seen so far, aside from the lawyer yesterday, what are we seeing legally that has allowed this to go on? Because how does a judge over and over again over 13 years allow this to continue?
Well, partly because petitions haven't been made to try to free her from the abuses of the guardianship. Now there's a lawyer who's going to be making these petitions. I was involved in another case. I can't disclose the person, but a relatively well-known person whose daughter wasn't even allowed to visit him. He's elderly and he's sick, but he wants certain things, and the courts are just telling him, and the guardians are telling him, and they're imposing all kinds of constraints. And I think this is a very important case because the public will now see the abuses of the system. In the end, this will work out. In the end, the judge will appoint a neutral person to help her with her finances, will probably lift the personal guardianship, and will keep an eye on her. And look, if things happen and she needs more supervision, you can always come back to the court for that. But right now, she should be free to make her own mistakes, to live her own life, to earn her money, and no conflicts of interest. Nobody should be involved who benefits from having a conservatorship or a guardianship. There should be no conflict of interest. And this case has been rife with conflicts of interest.
Absolutely. So Britney, now that she has her own lawyer, she wants to charge her father with conservatorship abuse. Beyond being able to be freed, what does this mean? Does she get money back? What does that look like?
No, I don't think the courts are going to hold the father responsible for what happened in the past. I think it was just a messed up system. I do think that we have to look going forward. And going forward, I think we're going to see a much, much better situation. But I doubt that we're going to have any findings of abuse. But who knows? Let's have transparency. Let the facts be exposed. And let's see what happens. But what I'm most interested in, I think what most Americans are interested in, is going forward, making sure this doesn't continue to happen to Britney Spears. And as important, make sure it doesn't happen to other people who are less well known than Britney Spears, who are today subject to the abuses of a very bad legal system that has failed.
Okay, so how quick the judge, as we've noted, allowed her to have her own lawyer yesterday. That being said, how quick does this now move from here? Does he file something ASAP? Does it get resolved right away? Give me a quick timetable.
I think very quick. I think the judge will respond. I think the lawyer will file something within a week or 10 days, and he will call for an immediate cessation of the guardianship. There'll have to be a hearing of some kind. There'll have to be some evidentiary conclusions reached. But my prediction is that certainly within the month, we will see a much freer Britney Spears, who will be out there continuing to entertain millions of people around the world without necessarily having people looking over her shoulder and telling her what she can and can't do. My God, what they were telling, how intrusive they were in her personal life, her physical life, her sexual life, every other way. That's just not the American way when you have an adult who is competent enough to be making millions of dollars and entertaining so many people. So this has to stop, and I believe it will stop.
I agree.
Professor Alan Dershowitz, it's always an honor to have you. You always bring the best insight. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.